Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. It is 6/13, halfway through the year. At the end of the year, we love having Ryan Marquardt on from Ryan's Astrology. And I have so many comedy dates. Please go to my website or sign up for my email. I am all over from Jim Thorpe to Mewis, Pennsylvania. I'm in Iowa. I am in Utah in June and Ogden, and I'm all over the place. Stand up, psychic stand up is doing great. I couldn't ask for more. So sign up there, or you can sign up for my Patreon, all kinds of stuff. Ryan, how are you?
I am hanging in there midway through the year.
Okay, that's a good answer because I told you earlier, I have a story that I believe encapsulates 2025 exactly. Okay.
Hang on.
Okay. And for any of you, this is already on my Patreon. And I'm going through this story on my Patreon with my tarot cards to show you what I was looking at when I was reading the whole thing. So, about a little over 2 months ago, I get a colonoscopy and they find a cancerous polyp on my rectum, which is very different than the colon. Okay. And they get it. And they say, the guy goes, "You're good. Maybe, you want to talk to the urologist. You could talk to the urologist." I was like, okay, whatever. I don't go to the doctor. I had found out I had done a parasite cleanse wrong, so that I had bleeding. I didn't know this. You clean out your colon first. So the parasite had started me bleeding, which sent me to the colonoscopy, which was just turned out, thank God they got that polyp. So the urologist is a guy, he's going to find cancer. He's going to check everything. He starts sending me out for scans and blood tests and CT and this and that. And they say it's in the lymph nodes. And so they send me to the surgeon, and the surgeon is going through this whole thing about how he's got to rewire my rectum. Here's the thing, folks. Colon cancer, cut it out, move on. Rectum, very different. Rectum is a one-job machine that you can't replace. And so, right? So he's going through all this stuff, and I'm thinking, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do this. And he's right. And I'm like, what does this mean then after you redo all this? And he's like, well, you'll have urgency when you go to the bathroom. When you have to go to the bathroom, it's going to be urgent. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I go, I'm not going to be shitting my pants on stage. And he goes, it could be your new shtick, right? And I was like, no, I'm not opening up for Bert Kreischer. That's not what I'm doing, right? So he has to go back in and do this thing called a sigmoscopy or whatever it's called, where they go in and tattoo where this was. So they know what they have to do. If it's close to the bottom, it's really bad. If it's close to the top, it's fine usually. If it's in the middle where mine was, it's like, we don't know. So right before he is supposed to put me under anesthesia to go do this little tattoo thing, he goes, "Oh, I just found out. We don't take your insurance." Right? Right? And so he goes in and does it. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not having this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the, right. I'm like, what is going on? I start fasting. I start doing everything I know, because here's the thing. There wasn't a lot to change when it comes to healthy. So I'm going over the top. Right. And then here's my joke. I said, well, since I'm paying for this, I don't want a little tattooed X. Can you make it a MAGA hat? So every time I go to the bathroom, I'm shitting on it. That's what my joke is. So now they do a CAT scan. I got an MRI next week. They send me to the new surgeon, and the new surgeon, after 2 months and $8,000, says, "You don't have cancer."
Oh my God.
So I have one more MRI for them to check. But he was like, "No, we put the whole panel together and we know why this other guy thought it, but it's not in the lymph nodes. So why don't we see you in 6 months?"
Oh my God.
I cannot tell you how awful that 2 months was. Like,
I'm sure. Oh my God. I mean, like, thank God you're cancer free.
right,
Here,
right.
but like,
And
uh,
and they found a cyst in my uterus, but I'm like, "That's fine. I don't even care if you give me a hysterectomy." But this rectal thing, I was like, "No, I'm not doing it." I was like, I'll run this out. I'll see who if I die or the cancer dies first, one of the 2." But that to me is 2025 in a nutshell.
it totally is. That's insane.
So, some of you might hear me reference this in other ones, but if you're on the Patreon, there's a whole story between the tarot cards I was pulling this whole time. And so, anyways, join the Patreon. But, anyways, Ryan, so now tell us about your 2025. What's happening? What do you got for us today?
I just want to say I like pulled up your birth chart while you were telling that story, and Scorpio rules, colonoscopies, and all of this. To be honest,
Oh,
and Scorpio's your sixth house of health. Go figure. And we're a couple days away from a really really potent Scorpio full moon. That's basically been a 6 month story arc. Like this is the culmination of a 6 month storyline. I don't foresee it being bad. I think actually this like news you received of like, oh JK, never mind. This is very telling because the full moon is opposing Uranus, which is like sudden pivot, you know. So
okay.
I
Good.
think you're at the culmination point of this. Fingers
Okay. Well,
crossed.
I will tell you this, I'm not doing it. So they can whatever they want. I'm not doing that. In fact, I will say this. The other surgeon, that's so weird when you said that. I got a huge vertigo, like we had an earthquake or something. Um so anyways, I'm not doing it. I'm all done.
Mm-mm.
I will, like I said, but also this surgeon, even his nurse was like, this is he's way more strategic. Like the other guy had a hammer, so everything's a nail. And so I wouldn't do it that way anyways. I'd go at it, I'd find a different way or whatever. I'd go to my water fasting place or whatever. But yes, but I hope that isn't on Tuesday because Tuesday's when I get my MRI. But that would have to be a huge 180. I think we already had the 180.
No, yeah, I think you had the 180. I'm not concerned about this, to be honest. Astrologically, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I think I'll get that other cyst taken care of and then I'll watch this for a couple of years and then I'm out because I will be 60 this year and if I live to 70 that's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think 60 is good enough for me. I mean, if I must even.
I know. This year, I don't know. Everybody says, well, 2026 is going to get better. I don't think it is. So you tell us what is up for the other half of 2025, my friend.
I know, it's so wild. I just want to say I didn't re-listen this time to our last one. I feel
Mhm.
like I remembered enough of it. I also just don't have the time. But I would recommend anybody who, wants to revisit it, go back because we did cover
Mm.
major transits that are kind of active for the second half of the year. So I don't want to just rehash everything either. But I don't know. I know I can be an optimist, but I'm like, we're really moving into this space of like very supportive transits happening. So it's just confusing because it's all like in context of, the world and how things are playing out. So it's like we've got all this like potential for people to come together. Like it's very much a we the people and it's like communal aspect going on here, but it is super at opposition with basically Saturn moving into Aries, which is happening at the end of May. So by the time this is out, Saturn is in Aries. It's only going to be in Aries until September 1st, and then it'll retrograde back into Pisces until February of 2026. But we're getting a really big sneak peek at the next few years, this summer and fall.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm like I'm very curious to see where that goes.
Well,
But
I want to bring up one thing though. You and the last one we did said something about there's going to be a new color. You just like threw
mm,
that in. And then there's a new eye color, isn't there?
Yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, people can go back and listen to that. I like even narrowed it down to April. But I was just talking about that was Neptune moving into Aries, which hasn't happened in our lifetime. It's been like 150 years. And in April, Venus, Neptune's like visualization. It moved into Aries. Aries rules the eyes. Venus is aesthetics and colors. And so Venus moved into Aries and met up with Neptune. And it was like, there's just so much new energy. And it's all at the very start of Aries, which is the start of the entire zodiac. So there's this big feeling going on right now of like, massive brand new life happening, but in that instance it was like the life is like in an aesthetic way. So yeah, I was like the only way I could ever describe it, I was like, it's like, you know, we just like see a new color. But in my mind, I even said it on your podcast. I was like, obviously, it's not like, oh, a new color is just going to appear in our reality and humans are just going to start seeing a new color. Like, obviously, logically, it'd have to be through technology of some sort. And of course, it was through technology. And what kind of technology? Laser technology. Why is that important? Because Pluto's in Aquarius. Aquarius rules lasers. And Pluto in Aquarius was making a perfect sextile, which is a very harmonious aspect to Neptune and Venus in Aries. So they were all working together. So they shot lasers into people's eyes and they singled out one type of cone. Like we have numerous types of cones in our eyes, and they shot lasers at one specific type of cone. The singling out is important also because Aries is all about individuation and like solo energy. So they shot it to one specific thing, and that brought a new color like online. It was like people are kind of like making fun of it because they're like, oh, so it's essentially like a overly saturated like peacock blue, green, teal situation. But I'm like, that's the only way you could describe it. Like you have to see it. Like these people are trying to describe, like, how do you describe something you haven't seen before? Like that, you know?
Right.
So I still think it's amazing. I just think it's amazing that it happens.
Yes. I love it. I love my eyes have changed a lot of color. Now they're just blue, 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 but they were green when I was younger. It's weird.
Oh.
I guess they can. All right. So we got a couple more years. We're on a little bit of a run here. Is that what you're I'm gonna
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
no, we're in the midst, like right now, of a very very significant shift, like really departing the last like 5 years and moving into another like new five. But this next phase is so much more supportive. Um, so I mean, it's about how we use it, but it's like there's just much better stuff to work with now at this point.
Okay.
So at the end of May, Saturn moves into Aries, big new energy we haven't had in 30 years. Start of June, Jupiter moves into Cancer, which is its absolute favorite sign to be in. It's exalted in Cancer. And that is also wonderful. We haven't had that in 12 years. And so that we're going to have for like a whole year. Cancer, you know, the US is a Cancer. So Jupiter's coming in to like bless the United States of America, essentially, in an exaggerated way of putting it. And we, the people, and, you know, Cancer has this way of like trying to gather people. And yeah, like it's kind of like glue, you know, it brings things together. So Jupiter can like really accumulate, I think, popular interests. And I mean, it's up to us. Like we are such an individualistic society. And so I think that's going to be an interesting conundrum because while all this is happening, go figure, and all this, literally, it's underway right now. By the time this episode comes out, I'm not sure the exact date, but right in the middle of June, we'll feel it all of June, but right in the middle of June, June 15th, Jupiter and Saturn make a square to each other, which is not a fun aspect at all. They're like basically T-boning each other, essentially. And it's just it's just not pretty. Like I don't like that. It sets off the Jupiter and Cancer transit, which should be so sweet, in a really harsh light because Saturn is in Aries, which is its least favorite sign to be in. It absolutely hates Aries, just doesn't operate well there. There's good ways to use it. It's just, in the traditional astrological rules, it doesn't like it. So Jupiter loves Cancer, right?
Mhm.
But they're fighting. And without getting too technical, Saturn is in the superior position. So this like idealism that Jupiter is going to bring in and this like kind of kumbaya energy that it's trying to create amongst the people is going to kind of be uh like Saturn is definitely going to be a wet blanket on top of that energy, like it's
Mhm.
going to try and extinguish that as much as possible, I think. And vice versa, because of this like harsh Saturn energy, uh that could also be what creates like the realization for people that like we only have each other, like we really cannot rely on these like dictators. Like that's quite literally what Saturn and Aries is. Aries is such a natural born leader. Saturn is like the boss and the big guy of all the planets, making all the rules. So this is like a very, very harsh rule maker, wants everything their own way. And definitely going against the will of the people here,
Yeah.
so
Well,
it's
so
frustrating.
would that be that we recognize that that's what's going on? Because I mean, I
I
feel like
hope.
that's kind of what's going on, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I just, unfortunately, I think, it's going to get worse. Right now, it's like time's only going to tell because we're still, in May right now. But I mean, like where we're at in June, these first 100 days of Trump's presidency have been so long. So I'm like,
Yeah.
who knows what's going to transpire over the next month here? Um, and I don't know where we're going to be, but I could totally see like the administration or anybody in positions of authority, right? Any of these department heads, anywhere really, um, being really crass and not doing what's right for the people and their constituents. That's quite literally like what it is. It could easily be a boss in a workplace, who's just not listening to their staff. Um, and so I
So,
think that could rally people for sure, for sure. But it's like it would have to get even worse.
well, there's two things, and I don't know if I included this in, but I keep feeling like that third quarter, once we hit August, the economy is going to tank like we've never seen before. And I feel like that's a turning point, maybe for the better, maybe I can't I don't know. That's my thing is that the people that are so all these tariffs are good and all that we'll learn there. But also, and this is a weird thing to throw in, but the military takes an oath to the Constitution, not to the president. And I think if we're going to get off this course, it has to start with the military doing something that we're not seeing. Does that make any sense?
Hmm. Oh, totally, totally, totally. That's an interesting one. Like, and military is Mars. Mars finally is out of its retrograde, which I mean, since October, really October to May, Mars was like just screwing up. So now Mars kind of has a lot more autonomy and it's going to be more efficient. So the military could totally do some stuff. Also, I think lawyers, weirdly, I just think they're our greatest advocates, like in so many ways at the moment in court, right? And Jupiter represents law and like what's morally right. And so Jupiter entering its favorite sign is really helpful for anybody who's in a legal field, I'd say.
Hmm. So
So
that's
I could see,
justice.
yeah,
Yeah, good. Okay.
yeah, and justice on behalf of the people, like it really is like feeling like you have people in your corner, I do think there's some level of a coming together vibe happening right now. I even think because of our hyper individuation, which I feel like I talk about it anytime I'm talking about astrology, but like that has been such a phase. I think that we're even gonna kind of have even like workplaces maybe creating like emotional intelligence like seminars or something for staff. Like it's like without DEI, like what else are they going to do? And I just think that there will probably be more like team bonding. Like Jupiter and Cancer is so like trust fall exercises. Everybody like let's bond, like company culture vibes.
Wow.
So I just feel like there will be these interesting ways that people are kind of coming together. And there's numerous ways this idea of a juxtaposition is playing out this year. But I guess that's one of them is like the realization of how much I think we need each other because people are starting to seriously see the downsides of this like um, I am a solo bitch, like I don't
Right.
need anybody else. I am independent and doing everything on my own. Great, but honestly, no. Like it's not the time. Like there's a lot of individuation energy happening right now, but that's that like Saturn in Aries energy where that's not a great placement, There's all these great placements happening that are much more about like camaraderie and coming together.
And that does not necessarily mean couples. It can mean groups, right?
Totally. I would say it's way more on the group angle for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's there's so many things I want to say. Like one thing I was thinking about, I like usually before like, planets change signs, you start seeing the themes like just reflected in society. And so like I've seen, oh man, I'm forgetting like exactly what they said they might offer. It's like they're threatening to do so much. But like that, nobody's having kids right now.
Right.
And Cancer is the mother, it's maternity. Jupiter increases, it's a very fertile planet. So it like Jupiter and Cancer is an excellent transit for getting pregnant, depending on where it's at in your chart. But it's like go figure that this theme of we need more babies might really become a very serious situation. I think that might, get like women to come together, right? And like they might not want to be in relationship, with like a significant other at that point. They're more so like focused on the community building because there's this like terrible power that's saying like you need to get pregnant and I'm going to do what I can to make that happen.
Handmaid's Tale-ish, yes.
Yes, it's very, very that, So that's an interesting one. I think like mothers in general are going to be playing a really pivotal role. The idea of maternity, women, trying to be in power more, but honestly, probably getting like stomped out a lot by these like really brute dudes.
Yeah, something's happening. What is it, Ryan? I feel like I don't know how to say it. I just feel like I don't feel positive about anything. And I know the turn that everybody's talking about, and I would love to see it come, but I don't feel positive about anything. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my head's been played with too much this year, but here's a weird question. Did you look at Donald Trump's chart?
Yes.
Okay, now I don't want him to die for a couple of reasons. So that's not really my MO, but also I think they would put him on a pedestal and we'd have a problem.
Oh, for sure. And, I mean, right now he's just like clueless figurehead, I think, at this point. Like he doesn't know anything. I'm like trying to watch the news every single day. And, like, he can't even answer any reporters' questions. He genuinely has no idea what's going on. Like this is the Surgeon General. Somebody asked him, like, she didn't finish like med school. She doesn't have a physician's practice or anything. Why is she the U.S. Surgeon General? And he's like, I don't know her, but RFK recommended her.
Like, no,
what?
No. Well, then somebody asked him a question about the Constitution, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know. That's what my lawyers do." And it was like,
oh my God, exactly. Oh my God, and how weird. Like, okay, this is like a perfect example of this like unity versus independence thing too. It was like the Declaration of Independence. Did you see that one where somebody was like, "What do you like most about the Declaration of Independence?" There was like a media interview. I think it was ABC or something.
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh, what it stands for? Like peace and unity." And everybody was like, that was like the only thing
I
like
know.
that doesn't happen to. That was like completely opposite. Independence versus unity, right? Like how weird that conversation is being had right now. On that, I mean, in that way, it's just interesting to see.
Oh my God, we're already late. I'm sorry. Hang on, folks. We'll be right back. Oh, Ryan, I love talking to you. Okay. Hey, everybody. After the Lori Bell episode, a bunch of you guys reached out and said, Karen, where are you getting mushrooms legally online? So I reached out to the company and I said, hey, would you guys like an ad on my podcast? And they said, hey, would you like to be an affiliate? And that was the day I learned what an affiliate was. So I am now an affiliate for mycholine.com. Folks, these are the real deal. This is not on Instagram or places where you see, hey, there's some lion's mane and you might feel better and you might not. These are real mushrooms. And they come in a liquid concentrate form with 4 great flavors. Blue raspberry is my favorite. If you are microdose curious, this is a fabulous way to give it a shot. They come with wonderful instructions. 1 to 4 squirts is microdosing or just relaxing. 5 to 8 is a little more of that party feeling. If you're out partying with people and they're all drinking, that's kind of where you want to be. And 8 and above does its thing. I am perfectly happy with 5 or 6. I haven't gone to 8, but I've read the reviews and people are very, very happy. So you want to go to mycholine.com, MyColean, and you're going to use coupon code Karen71367. All one word, all capital letters, Karen71367 for a 10% discount. Go get some mushrooms, enjoy, and send me an email and let me know how you like it. Okay, so how is Donald's chart?
Oh my goodness. So he's just a sneaky guy. He is. I remember too, I think it was in the last one, I had said, I mean, it was even a year ago when we were talking about the election and stuff and trying to predict all that. I was, looking at the election chart for him, but I looked ahead and I kept seeing April being this like pretty significant month for him. Go figure, that's when all these like tariffs like really started to come into effect, and like I think that's when he became a much more polarizing figure, and you're hearing more stories of people regretting their votes, all this stuff. So I think he definitely had this like really kind of crappy, I mean his approval rating tanked, right? So I think
not as much as it should have.
no, I know. And it's like for Democrats, at least, who are trying to gloat about it, I'm like, well, your approval rating is like even worse. So
Yeah.
like, what are you what are you doing? But I think he had a pretty gnarly April in that sense. But it's like, even when I was looking at that ahead of time, I'm like, but the pattern with him is he always gets away. Ever since freaking what, 70s, like when he first had like his big lawsuit, like he just gets out of it, wiggles out. So I just don't foresee any repercussions coming down on him, honestly. I really don't. Jupiter is currently sitting on top of his sun in Gemini. It's going to leave Gemini on June 9th and enter Cancer in his 12th house. But I like a Jupiter 12th house transit, especially Jupiter's going to be in its favorite sign. Jupiter in the 12th house to me is like a guardian angel. Like you'll it's I call it like your year of getting away with murder. So he's about to enter that period of time. Like where it's just like you're just not gonna, like, the worst case scenario is not gonna happen to you. You'll always be saved from like the worst.
Well, do you know, because I do think I still kind of get that I still feel like his job is to, first of all, mirror what the United States has become, like a capitalist, we don't care about anybody but ourselves. So I see the mirror. Also, I mean, I think we've talked about he might have the Judas part where he's supposed to be Judas. You know what I mean? But I also, this sounds weird, but I don't think he will ever. I wonder if his chart is like that because I don't think he will ever feel the repercussions because he'll just keep lying. Like he could be thrown out of office and he'll just make up a story that everyone was against him, right? Like he won't get it.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I just can't even take anything he says seriously. Like, there's just no logical train of thought anymore with him. It makes no sense the ways he's just contradicting himself day in day out. I mean, even the big announcement he made about the UK tariff trade deal or whatever, it was the same thing. We had 10% tariff standing, and that his announcement was 10% tariff. What? It's the same. Nothing changed, sir. Like, and what are you talking about? Like, he's just, I think he's nonsense. I think his whole, like, cabinet this time around too. Like his team, his like Jupiter and Cancer energy, I think is going to continue to really rally around him and support him. And it's just so different than the last time because he at least had people pushing back before, and now they don't even have like I watched Kristi Noem like in some hearing I think yesterday or the other day, and she couldn't. She's like the ultimate decision maker in her position, and she's like not answering questions for herself. She's like the Trump administration. The guy's like, "This is your job. Like you decide this," and she just can't decide for herself. And I don't even think anymore. It's like, oh, they're on this united front. I think that these people are so unqualified to be in these positions that they're now finding themselves in these insane situations, and they can't even believe that they wield this power. Like how, like they don't want to say I believe this because what are the repercussions of making that kind of personal statement? I just don't think they know what to do, for by far and large at least. Like, I mean,
right. The TSA at Newark, I think that poor guy's a reality star. He's in over his head. And now it is like a cartoon. Like now Janine, whatever her name is, crazy, that lady, is somebody in the administration. So we're stuck with him and JD Vance, we think, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think people don't love JD Vance. I didn't look at his chart for this, but I mean, just like the general temperature around him, I'm not thinking he'd be like any serious successor to Donald Trump either. But I just don't know what's going on. Like the Democratic Party is splintering so hard, and I think we don't see it as much, I guess, with the Republicans. But it's like the Republicans are basically the same because it's like so many of them really are moved by Donald Trump, and when he's gone, I don't know that there's anybody else that is like worthy of that torch. You know,
right.
I really don't. I don't know. So everything's so up in the air. I don't really even like looking at 2028 right now. Like there's so much that could play out. I mean, I'd rather focus on like midterms at this point and who's like running for that.
How does that look?
I think I mean, I was wrong on my presidential election prediction, I guess. But I mean, I do think it looks better for the Democrats. Like even when I looked at the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is that platform is really falling apart. Like their astrology is fractured in the way that I'm seeing the Democratic Party fracture. So I just feel like it's not as visceral with the Republicans right now, but I think it's happening to them. I think Democrats, though, are going to come in, but we always do better, too. I mean, that's also just like logic. We do better in the midterms because it's like
I think
women.
That always does. I always think there's a backlash and there's a blue wave or there's a white wave.
Yeah.
So who on the Democratic side, like I know people are talking about AOC. I have my eye on Pete Buttigieg. Any of those guys, what are their charts looking like?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I can't believe I had never looked at Pete's chart before. We don't have a time for him. So I have to put his time at, well, my protocol is putting his time at sunrise because then the sun is on the ascendant for him. So it's a different way of looking at the chart. It's not as helpful, but he has a lot going on. Like he's going through a very serious public image change. Pluto is currently transiting over Venus in his not in his first house, but Venus, which is very much about like his relationships, how he is presenting himself to the world,
which is really happening. Yeah,
it's totally happening. I mean, he's even going on like Republican platforms. I don't know if they're like astroturfing and like buying comments or something, but I've seen him on a couple Republican podcasts and like the comments on YouTube are flooded with a lot of Republicans being like, I kind of like this guy. You know?
Yep.
It's kind of weird.
Yep.
So maybe, but I'm also like, but is the country ready for a gay man? You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. Like, I'm still getting shocked. One of my friends just posted a video on social saying, like, well, she came out as a Trump supporter a couple months ago, and I'm like, whatever. But then she just posted a video saying, this is controversial, I guess, but like, I don't think that, gay couples should have children. Like
Ugh.
they should be married, but I just think that, it's natural and it's like a metaphysical thing for me. She's like woo woo. And she's like, I just think it's if it's not natural for you to be able to have a kid, you shouldn't be able to raise a kid. I think it should be. Yeah, and I was just like, this is insane. Like these people are insane. There's so many insane people in this world still. So
there's a weird MAGA spiritual movement that I don't understand at all.
it's bizarre. And there's like the double standards of it all are wild. I think this was the Surgeon General that I saw yesterday. This one like kind of makes me laugh a little bit, but it does lead me nicely into another astrological theme that I want to talk about. It's either the Surgeon General or that other one, Janine. I can't remember. One of them. Somebody dug up like a newsletter she sent out. And I think it was the Surgeon General, which is kind of what makes it funnier. Uh, uh, and she said, I think it was a couple years ago she sent this out, but she was like 10 ways that I manifested love at the age of 36 or something. And she like told this story about like having a hard time finding love. But then these points are wild. She's like, I gathered like women in my backyard and we did full moon rituals. And I would go on nighttime hikes and talk to the trees and tell the trees that like, I'm ready for love. Like crazy stuff like this.
That's
You know what I mean?
our
And
stuff.
I mean, yeah, I'm like,
stuff.
I'm into it. Right. Exactly. So I'm like down, but I'm like, this is who they're now elevating to the like Surgeon General. I think it's that one. If not, it's the other one. But whatever. Like, but meanwhile, like, do you remember Marianne Williamson? Like,
Mhm.
and everybody making fun of her, like when she kind of like came off slightly as like a crystal ball like type of person. This woman is sitting here saying, I'm talking to trees and manifesting my love and all this stuff. Like, it's insane to me, just like the double standards here. Like, they can accept it at one turn, but not the other. Like,
Yes. Well, you know what else? I think what was Steve Bannon saying? Shock and awe. Just keep throwing stuff until people are numb. Because
totally.
I don't listen to the news in the morning at all. And I got up today and there was something like, I was like, this is a big news day or something. Something happened where I was like, and I started on it. And so far it hasn't been a lot or anything, but it's a very, very suspicious. So I think that could fly under the radar in a second. I think somebody had an interesting theory, and this is what I do think that we are just being forced to look at what the United States has become, how corrupt we are. These F-14s that are falling off of the ships, somebody said, they're not falling off, we've sold them.
Well,
right? I think that is correct. I think we're selling them. They don't fall off of ships.
no.
Who are we selling them to? Ukraine or Israel? What are we doing?
Truly, there's such a lack of transparency about anything that's actually transpiring right now. Like, I feel like I'm hearing more news about America from leaders of other countries at this point.
Well,
like,
that's the other thing with the tariffs, and it's the one that's going to kill us, is China's not playing with him. China's done.
It's wild. And then there's this whole like revolution happening regarding China now too, where so many people are getting exposed to like the way of life in China, and that realizing like we have been fed a lot of propaganda. Yeah. No, I'm not even joking. I have had a phase. I don't remember if I told you this, but like I had quite a phase over like winter about wanting to move to Japan. And that got me into also, especially with this like renaissance of China happening, looking at China as well. So I've been like hardcore looking into it. And I'm like, people have these insane quality of lives. And we are fed this idea that we have it so good, but oh my God, we really do not. It's so wild to like see that happen. And that like, why do we need these adversaries, quote unquote? It's pretty nuts. That's a big thing in the US chart. I'm getting so tangential. I have like so many things I want to bring up. But that's a big thing in the US chart that I am concerned about. July, you were spot on with, I think, third quarter. July and August, the US chart looks pretty gnarly. There's just a lot of energy happening at this point in general. Like all of the planets will have changed signs by this point into their new space. It's like the hot point of the year, July to August. And simultaneously, Mercury is going to go retrograde, which normally it's like, okay, whatever. But Mercury's retrograde in the United States is ninth house. Okay, so this is important for numerous reasons. Mercury rules basically the other in diplomacy, international relations for the United States' chart. So, and Mercury in general rules commerce, trade, right? It's going to go retrograde in the part of the United States' chart that rules like import, export, especially any foreign affairs, any foreign government, foreign laws. And not only that, but it's also retrograding over the US's North Node, which is like our destiny. Where are we headed, you know? And so basically saying there's a serious revision going on right now regarding our relationships with all other world powers. The trade, I think it's just kind of going to get worse, honestly, July to August. I think maybe after that, it's going to have this ability to improve, like probably more so September onward. But there's a clear issue going on with the US. And it's so frustrating because it's like our chart shows that one of our biggest strengths as a nation is our diplomacy. Like this is what we should be so good at. And it is now disintegrating.
Wow.
So I'm worried about that. I really am. Like, and I'm not like a doomsday prepper or anything, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have been buying canned goods.
Yeah, there's only a certain amount we can do, and yeah, I'm with you on that. I've had a lot. I'll tell you, there's a couple of things where I feel like it's going to be the last pope. We hear that every pope. This will be the last pope. Then blah blah blah. Whatever's coming, Armageddon. But it's interesting. I have my comedy calendar and my travel calendar is almost packed everywhere but July and August. Like I can't buy. I was like, okay, that's just going to be a vacation, or if I need a hysterectomy, that'll be then. But it is, you can't. It's very strange. I don't know. I think that is, if there's a revolution, there's a revolution, right?
Oh, totally. I mean, there's so many things in the astrology that are coming around right now that echo back to the Civil War, the American Revolution. There's a big thing that's happening that I think is really fascinating with Saturn, and we talked about this, you know, in the last one, so I don't want to like beat the dead horse, but Saturn and Neptune coming together at the very start of Aries. They're not exactly conjunct this summer, but they're very, very, very close. It's a very serious teaser of their full conjunction, which will happen in February of 2026. And that's going to last for a couple of years. And when these two planets come together, like Saturn cements things, it creates boundaries, it rules like rocks and matter, literally. And Neptune dissipates or dissolves things. The last time that they met up, it was the fall of the Berlin Wall, literally just like the crumbling of the wall, right? So, and they always come together when there's war happening. They tend to either kind of like firm up some sort of opposition and fight, and Aries rules the military especially. So this time I'm like, okay, definitely war, military. There's probably going to be both. You know, we're probably going to see like the falling away of adversaries, like where I mean, we're already seeing it, aren't we? Like, shoot, like the way that we have united the Asian countries, even, right? Like Japan and China. What are you? This is historic stuff. Like these adversaries are just no longer, like, they're putting it aside, but also new ones will totally be created, and it's going to be inflamed. And Neptune can cause like a lot of paranoia and like mass panic. But this is the weird one because it's with Aries, which is so individual. So it's like you really got to be careful of like who you're anointing as leaders right now, and the blind faith that you might be putting in them, because they could be freaking out, you know, and if you're taking everything they say as ultimate truth, that is what would probably create some sort of mass panic situation, I guess. But there's a lot relating to the history and war time, I guess, that's coming up. So it's just the war, like as far as Civil War goes, I'm like, it's already happening. It's digital now. The war looks so different these days, I think, than it ever used to. But I do think we're in a war. I'm most excited for. We're only going to get a very, very little sneak peek of it, but I am excited that on July 7th until November 8th, Uranus is going to enter Gemini. Just a little sneak peek, and then in April of next year, it'll re-enter Gemini until 2033. But that is like once every 80-something years, and it is really, really beneficial when this happens. Uranus is lightning, it's the sky god. Gemini's an air sign. There's going to be a lot of quick movement, innovation, access to information. Last time this happened, it was a serious boom in public education and awareness, right? Media literacy. There was, I think, the first telegraph. What did they call it? Like the telegraph revolution, I think, is what they called it. But it was the first time there was like a transatlantic telegraph cable. So it's just really interesting. And Gemini rules, communication, yes, and like so. We're just going to continue to see crazy tech innovations, probably as far as communication and internet goes, but Gemini also rules transportation. And Uranus, being the sky god, is definitely going to have an impact on like the airline industry, right? But also, I'm not even lying. Like, I will not be shocked if by 2033 we are seeing very serious production of like flying cars. I know that that's so wild, but I mean it. Like, I just think that that's the kind of like serious like quantum leap energy that Uranus brings, and Gemini is like he rolls with the punches. It is not going to halt any progress that Uranus is trying to make here. So I think there's really, really, really beneficial stuff happening with this. So I would really recommend people pay attention to the bizarre, innovative disruptors that are emerging between July 7th and November 8th. It's just a short time this year, but it's a very big sneak peek of the next, better part of the next decade. And it's going to give you good clues on like where we should be going. And for anybody who's like in stock markets, like this would be one thing that I'd be really looking out for. Like if you're noticing like really big emerging tech or industries or, I don't know, disruptors is the best way to put it with this, who might seem way on the fringe or black sheep or something, you're like, that idea will never take off. Those are probably the ones to invest in right now, like maybe don't, put all the eggs in one basket, like high risk like that. But it feels like, it's kind of like the next Tesla. What a shitty example these days. But it really is like, there's something that's coming for sure that we don't currently have. It's going to fundamentally alter the way that we relate and communicate. Do you need another break?
No,
I don't know.
Actually, you're correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, hang on, folks. We'll be right back. Oh, my God.
Hi, everybody. Do you love everything paranormal, supernatural, or otherwise spiritual?
Well, of course you do. You're listening to Paranormal Karen.
If you like some humor sprinkled into your morning commute or wherever you listen to your podcast, we don't judge. We've got the most fantastic paranormal podcast for you.
I'm Dana.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Megan. We'd love for you to join us at Supernormal on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcast fix.
Trust us, it's weird, it's wild, and a whole lot of fun.
I'm not weird, you're weird.
All right, part 3. And Ryan, I'm just going to let you go and listen because I know you're on a time clock today. But you just let me know what you want to talk about and hit it, baby.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so I do. Oh, and as far as like really big tariff trade situations, maybe like really pivotal, like announcements, maybe that could truly alter like what is going on in America, even like in the government, like laws being written or taken away or something. In that July and August timeframe, the 3 dates that stick out the most are July 2nd, August 4th, and August 17th. So those are 3 days that
That's my birthday.
Oh my God. Oh my God. How did I not even notice this? Okay, yeah. Well, that's good. And you're the 17th. So that's good because, it's the Goldilocks thing, too hot, too cold, just right. That's the just right one. The third hit is always okay, this is the cleanup. So that's lovely. That will be on your birthday. Oh, and you'll be having your Mercury return at the same time too. I still have your turn up.
Is Mercury return better? I'm in Saturn return, right?
You are almost out of it. Once literally at the end of May, Saturn's going to enter
That's what
Aries,
I want. Then that's also the MRI is done and everything's done. That was Saturn, right? Telling me to slow down or something?
Saturn definitely, for sure, telling you to slow down. But also your 6th house of health, having this kind of 6-month story arc that's culminating literally right now. So I think that, yeah, you'll probably feel very different and much more energized. If anything, you're probably gonna get too busy moving forward. So I guess be careful of the bandwidth.
Okay.
I think I totally want to have a separate reading with you. I'm looking at.
All right. Okay. And I won't interrupt you again. Go ahead.
Okay. No. Okay. So I'm really been trying to pay attention. It's been harder to think of very specific predictions, I guess, of this exact technology or, even the color thing. That was just I think more of an intuitive kind of prediction. And I think those are more likely to be successful right now. But I've been really trying to pay attention just in my own life and being very, very, very observant right now. And I am noticing some really weird things that I just think are permeating enough stuff, and it's reflected in the astrology that I'm I think that there's something to a couple of these themes here. Okay. So one of them being with another juxtaposition thing is, and this sounds cliche at first, but it's not. It's I think deeper. Hopefully this makes sense. I think there's gonna be a lot more people really getting tied into the past. And by that, I mean, even people, really exploring their ancestry and lineage, even doing, ancestral work. Even that lady I was talking about, the Talk to the Trees lady, one of her 10 things she did was, get into her ancestry and do rituals that our ancestors did. And it's this is a white woman. We're doing ancestor work now? What? This is, not normal.
Wow.
And so I think that there is this, very serious, reverence. It's much deeper and more serious than nostalgia, so I think there's something that's really keeping people tied to the past. Obviously that can go in a really negative way, it can hinder progress, but then there's also this serious push for the future and trying to figure out where we go from here, and then people feeling pulled in two completely different directions, I think, here, and really needing to figure out what to do with that. There's a few things I can say about it, but I don't want to be too tangential. One, I think a big thing with this form, it's just people realizing I think it can be really harsh for people. It's probably the best way I could put it. Where the realization of what you're hanging on to in the past is actually you will probably be confronted with the needing to know I have to move on, and then also experiencing the relief of detaching from the past more. Not to say you can have reverence for it and remember the good times or whatever, but I just think that people are really going to be pushed in a whole new forward direction. And I think right now is definitely a time to just
I think they're white knuckling it. Terrible. Yeah, everybody's white knuckling it right now.
It's really crazy. And even in things I won't go all into my personal life, but I'm people that I just was certain we're going to be lifelong people. I'm just things have worked out, some in crappier ways, some just naturally, just where I'm we are no longer in each other's lives.
Right.
What? And normally I'm a Cancer moon. That's such a past nostalgic placement to have, like the ultimate nostalgic, like hang on to what I can have. And I just don't feel that anymore. Like I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like very much on the like turning a new page kind of whenever I can at the moment. And that's weird for me. Like that's super bizarre, but it's just happening. So I think and then I'm happier all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
Well, I'll tell you that little cancer story not only turned me around, but I am leaving in October or November, period. Utica is going to make me sick. And I was like, that's it. If my mom passes, I'll go earlier, but I have to go. So I'm with you. Let's change and move and go.
Yes. I just think it's so important. And if you don't have the means, it's like there's something that is needing to move on right now, you know? Like Jupiter and Cancer really can keep you it puts a magnifying glass on your history, like what has conditioned you, you know, like truly. So I mean, these are fundamental things in you, and I think that there's probably a grieving process that has to play out there a little bit of like this isn't me anymore, you know, like let that play out, I guess. But like you have got to know that there is seriously some other stuff coming. And so with that, and there's plenty of other things going on in the astrology for it. A lot of it too is the North Node in Pisces right now, the end of the zodiac, the alpha omega of the zodiac, I think. And it Pisces ruling memory, and Pisces, the modern ruler, is Neptune. So Neptune's the planet that kind of rules memory, and like Neptune and Pisces have a lot to do with things like Alzheimer's. So I was previously, when there was some other stuff going on with these two, I was really interested in like, oh, maybe they're going to have breakthroughs in Alzheimer's research, etc. But I'm now kind of seeing that there's this kind of, I think people are going to realize the importance of forgetting things. Like not like, and the memory is insane. Like truly memory is absolutely nuts. And the ways that we don't remember the past in the right way, you know,
Yeah.
or that we're so, if we're so stuck in the past that we're making future decisions based off of like past experiences, and it's like, oh, this is a whole new slate. Like this is a whole new blanket of energy here. That doesn't, the rules from before just do not fit right now.
And
so
I connect that to trauma, to our bodies remembering trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And just,
absolutely,
yeah, we need to like that's the hardest part is when you're working on your therapy, but it's not out of your body.
Somatic, like let's get it going.
Right.
No, absolutely. It's just like, I think people, the faulty memory of things, like I had this recently with like truly like my favorite person in the world. We both like, we were like kind of drunk. And I remember leaving his place and then going about my whole next week and being like, yay, like, and whatever, like, I'm thinking literally nothing of it. Like, I had a great night. And then the next week, I was like, you want to like hang out or something? Long story short. And come to realize he's been pissed at me this whole time, this whole week. And then I end up, I was like, was I blackout? I've never blacked out in my life. Like, I was like, I'm sure I didn't, but like, did something happen? And am I like getting so old that I'm like now can't drink like I used to or something? I don't know.
I know.
No, I'm so serious. Like he had me freaking out because he kind of wasn't being responsive. And I was like, look, you know me. I like to tackle a problem the second it arises. Like if I knew that I did something to upset you, I would have tried to remedy it on the spot. I'm so upset that this whole week has gone by and I didn't even know you were mad at me. Like that's how much I didn't know anything was a problem. So I don't even know what to apologize for, but I'm so sorry that you feel like upset at me. Seriously. And then he tells me what happened. And I was like, that didn't happen. Like literally everything he said, I was like, this did not happen. Like he said I stormed out of his apartment and I was like, no, I didn't. I literally like left you a gift when I was leaving the apartment. Like literally, like what happened in your perception? Like this is the first time in my life that I've had two completely different realities competing against each other. Right. So, and I was not, he was making me feel gaslit, And I'm like, I know that I was right. Long story short, he got put on new medicine and it was kind of fucking with his perception.
Oh, okay.
Truly, he was like smelling things that weren't there. Like, I've put these pieces together, but he's not going to be receptive to that. But point being, there's this conflict of memory, right? Like, if we are trying to relate and make decisions with each other based off of like these pasts that we are like, it's human to completely remember events differently. Like, there's such an important part of forgetting, I think. And like, I know that that's so weird. I'm trying to like think of a better way to put it, but it's like, I think it's like a very serious spiritual thing. Like, this in the spiritual community, especially, I think we're always like, we're here to like remember who we are. But is that why? You know what I mean? Like, or are we here to become who we haven't been yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that there's like, life is so much more meaningful when we don't know that it's a story while we're living it. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that there's so much more to living, not just in the moment, but also currently, to having a bit more of a future forward focus. There's just such new energy coming in, trying to pummel us in different directions right now. And I think it's imperative that a lot of us learn to just forget the past. I forget which tribe this is, but I remember in college, I saw this like speech from this person who somebody found like a very remote indigenous tribe where they have very limited language and they don't comprehend past or future even. So like, if somebody dies, it's that person just doesn't exist, never did anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's just what is happening in the moment is all that is there. And I'm like, I can't even fathom that type of mindset, but it's like, that's the kind of like vibe I think we're moving into.
Yes. And you know what else? That's where, because I will tell you, I wake up every morning now grateful, and I kind of know what this cancer scare was about because it set me back to the way I was in Los Angeles, where meditation, prayer, gratitude were all important. And that all went out the door here. So it brought it back. But in the moment is when we jump timelines, because I am wondering if all that I suddenly jumped a timeline. Now, I'm going to be very careful here because when people talk about autism, there is people who are being diagnosed as autistic that are functional, you wouldn't know it, that kind of thing. And then there's people that are not functioning correct, not whatever RFK was talking about. But like my friend's son will never live on his own. He's totally not in diapers or whatever the hell RFK was talking about. But he is living in the moment all the time, which if you think of the movie Memento, that's why I think autistic people like patterns, because so in the moment, you can't change the pattern. I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, I do think it makes sense. It kind of reminds me, as an aside, have you listened to the telepathy tapes, the podcast?
I started them. I didn't get all the way through.
It is wild. There's a season 2, apparently. I didn't realize, but like, it's pretty freaking substantial. So I highly recommend that to anybody who's interested.
Yeah.
Super fascinating. But yeah, I just think, I mean, there's so many ways I think this will play out, but even this idea of like, I think forgetting being a means to come together again, right? Like, it makes me think of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, if you've seen that, where it's like they choose to forget in order to heal, only to rediscover what made it meaningful in the first place. So it's like this idea of I'm going to forget now, because then you get this ability to discover again, this is like fundamental to like religions and spirituality, and like this idea of like, God made man in his own image, to know thyself, right? Like, if the universe started as a primordial particle, that particle split and now experiences itself differently. It doesn't remember what it's like to have this unity thing, right? So I think like this idea of forgetting what you were becomes really important in order to remember the importance of unity all over again. It's in a relational sense, it's that phrase of like, if you love them, let them go, let them forget you, because they will then have the chance to remember you and how great that relationship might have been or something,
Yeah.
truly. I mean, and I've put that into practice, and it's been like the most beautiful thing in the world, because then you're also just learning how to let go. Like there's I don't think I've really experienced any negative outcome from this kind of practice ever.
Yeah.
But I definitely suffer when I'm like hanging on too tight to things that like once brought me joy.
And now they're different. That's a lot of, I can hear people growing in my readings now, and they are facing it. And the other thing is that subconscious, I think I say this all the time, but even in my mind, the victim mentality keeps coming back. It comes back because it's programmed. It's on every news channel. It's in every movie. Everybody's a victim. Nobody's a hero. You know what I mean? And that is what is, I feel like, holding people back. Because if you're ready to get over something, are you ready to change who you are? Are you ready to let go of being the broken-hearted person? And a lot of people are not.
Oh my God, no. It's just so important. I mean, it's even science. It's neuroplasticity. Like the brain has to literally forget things that it doesn't need in order to grow. Like, so this is important, like fundamental stuff, but it's also, like truly, I think in the astrology, there is so much sentimental, nostalgic, past oriented energy but that's the downside of those placements. These are very good placements, like in water signs, but the higher vibe of it is not that. It's the unity, the coming together, the mutual appreciation, and the spaces of belonging and togetherness, basically. But like how to get there is some individuation, but like healthier individuation, I think. A healthier way of standing up for yourself, I guess, even. Like I think like kind of like what I was saying before about, maybe like workplaces putting in like emotional intelligence stuff in the office. Sure. But like also conflict resolution. Like that's a big revelation I've recently had. Like even with that kind of example I was giving before, I'm like, my conflict resolution style, and also because I'm a nerd about this stuff, so I like study it, but like I like to, tackle a problem as it arises. The person that like was mad at me for literally no reason because they made up something in their brain
Their story,
that they couldn't get over. They ice you out, like that is their MO. They can't have the conversation when the problem arises. They take a long time. And I don't think that's healthy, but it's like people have different conflict resolution styles. And I don't think people even understand this or how to operate in that way. Like, I'm trying to accommodate this person's style, and it's difficult for me because it is so not my style. And they definitely will never accommodate mine.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And you know what's another one? And when sometimes I hear the same thing over and over. And the one now is expectation. I am mad because I expected you to be like this and you're not.
That is so difficult. That is so difficult. I think that's going to teach so many people. This is so fun. I always think when you're in this line of work, you kind of go through things before the collective, especially like your own clients. I think it helps you for some freaking reason. I have been on the last couple of years, really, it's been my Saturn and Pisces transit. It's been this like idea of like radical responsibility. And like, I don't take the word radical lightly. Like people flippantly throw that around. And I'm like, what are you doing that's actually freaking radical? For me, I'm like, radical responsibility is somebody could do something senseless to me. Like that person is still pissed at me for something that literally did not happen, and they made it up in their brain, like it's the most senseless thing. And there's much more like serious senseless things that could happen to a person. I'm not saying that absolves anybody or that you should just like forgive them immediately. But what does it do to point the blame at them? Like you can still like radical responsibility to me is to say, okay, what can I do knowing this senseless thing happened? How can I protect myself? How can I better communicate in the future to avoid any of this? Like I already feel like I'm walking on eggshells around people, but now I'm like, this is a landmine because people could just be making things up in their brains and getting pissed at me for it. Like it's like I have no control over that at all, So I've really been like just turning shit in on myself. And it's so controversial because people are like, you're blaming the victim, like I was the victim in that technically. But what does that do for me to take that on? So anyway, that Saturn moving into Aries being, victimhood is like Pisces energy, but Saturn moving into Aries is in like your individual responsibility, Saturn responsibility. Aries is your agency and individuation. So I think people are going to realize like it really is super up to me, but like it's up to me to be better. And Aries being the warrior and literal war and fights and arguments, conflict. That's where I'm like, there's the responsibility each of us individually have to fight better.
Yep.
Conflict is still going to happen, but how can we be more productive and mature? That's Saturn in our arguments with one another, because this is a fact of life, but we need to figure out how to do it productively.
Yeah, and so that we're not looking for a win-lose, like I won, or you lost, or I lost, and just sort of going, okay, we're back to peace.
Yes, and literally just like looping it all in, because astrology is synthesis. It's all these cycles on top of each other. If you're in a relationship and you get in a fight with like your partner, and this is like a type of scenario you dealt with before, I dare you to not bring up the fact that it happened before. Forget it. That's what I'm talking about. Like, let yourself forget the prior times. Deal with the issue that's happening in the moment. Otherwise, you're just lumping a bunch of stuff onto the current situation, which is the only thing that you actually have going on right now.
Sometimes I think I was too logical. Like, I know people want to say it's just women, but women and men get very wrapped up in drama or whatever. How the dance that they do is a better way I like to call it. And I know that I am always very like I don't care about birthdays, but if someone forgot my birthday every year, instead, because I run into this with clients, he forgets my birthday every year, or she doesn't do this, then you know what? Tell them the week before.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to remember. If they haven't remembered before, they're not going to remember. That's not going to change. So if you want a birthday gift, tell them a week before.
That's literally perfect. Like, that's that expectation, but also the personal responsibility. Do not expect someone else. Like, it doesn't mean they don't care. It's just we're all freaking busy. I think that's been a really cool thing. It's like every time that like I talk to anybody that works at this, we're always like, everybody's going through it right now. But I feel like everybody who's going through it right now is finally realizing that too. Like, and that's a uniting factor, right? Like, we feel so like individuated and almost isolated by our own pain and our own little circumstances that we're going through. Like, you just told this story about cancer. Like, what? Like, that's where it's like, but it's like everybody's going through something like that. One of my friend's sister just had a stillborn baby. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like another one's brother got paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, these are insane things that every individual is just going through. But I think the sharing of these stories makes you realize, oh my God, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, life is just happening to people right now. But this is why we need each other, because we're all feeling so freaking isolated, and our experiences are our own. But like, we are very much in things together, and there's still so much that we can do. Like, I'm finding joy when I meant to say this before, but you were saying like, how do I find like happiness right now? Like, I'm not happy about much. Like, I think my happiest moments right now, I'm like trying to find more happiness just like by myself, like, and having like more solace, but also it's in doing things, like trying to literally pitch in. I don't mean like volunteer to soup kitchen, go for it if your heart's in it, but like, I have a friend who's like desperately looking for a job, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a killer writer, and people have copied my resume. Let me like look at your resume, whip it in shape as best as I can, take it or leave it, Yeah. But then also, I did this big search for like all these really niche job boards that like he could go look for that would work really well for him, and just gave it to him. You know what I mean? And felt so fucking happy about this work that I was able to do in this one person's life, But it's like, if everybody starts doing more of that stuff, the collective seriously changes. That's this like glue that is so supportive for us right now. But it's like, that's the personal responsibility that is on each of us to participate in that mutual collective good, because the powers that be aren't going to mandate it. The law clearly is not going to be helping anybody and just
No.
like moving us.
No, there's no law anymore. I don't even know if I should pay estimate taxes. I am, but I'm kind of like, are we going to have an IRS? Does it matter?
No.
And also that's like, I'm pretty sick of, I've paid for health insurance my whole life, and this is the first time I've ever used it. And I have a HSA with a $8,000 deductible. So I'm not really losing money. That HSA was set aside for this. So it's not ruining my life, but it's taking $8,000 out of my HSA. And I said to my sister, you know what? At some point soon, I'm just not going to have health insurance. I'm just not going to do it. And what I would pay monthly to a health insurance, I'm going to give to other people's GoFundMes. And then when I get sick, I'm going to have a GoFundMe. And my sister goes, you should. That's called socialized medicine. And I thought,
yes,
why don't we do that?
Exactly. And more people are doing it. We're doing it for the dumbest reasons. Like, did you see the woman who called someone an N-word, like a kid an N-word? Now maggots raised like $500,000 for her.
She's to $1 million. God. But I saw something today, and I don't know if this is true. They went after who was processing the money, and I think the money is frozen and nobody gets it. I heard that today. I hope that's true. I hope that's true.
So.
Yeah.
Look, we can rally when we want to.
Yeah.
But what's inspiring you to rally right now? Because dang, that's questionable.
You know, the other thing you were saying about community, I knew this, and it is happening with. Whereas everything is a double-edged sword. And then, oh my God, I got to let you go. You got to go. And I'm
it's okay.
Okay.
I do have like one other thing I want to briefly say.
Okay.
Go for it.
The cult thing. It's all there, whether it's the evangelicals, whether it's MAGA, whether it's the left, the cult thing, that was, I really think that's why they wanted COVID to break us down. So that, because when people do not feel a part of community, they join a cult. And that's what I think that was the planning in that. Anyways, that was my conspiracy of the day. Go ahead.
No, that's true. That's like the downfall of this like collective. We want to be there for each other, but still remain individual in this feeling of unity and mutual support, basically, right?
Yes.
Just to throw a couple other things out there quickly, I think that so I talked about like maternal health. I think that's a big deal that we'll probably see coming in the second half of the year. In general, I think healthcare revolution, your anecdote at the beginning of this, perfect example, like dead serious, perfect example. I think there's serious need for overhaul in our health departments. Even just their data sharing capabilities are so low. So go figure, Uranus is going to move into Gemini and help innovate access to information. So there's probably going to be a lot of really interesting health innovations, healthcare industry innovations, super needed. But again, it's like, I think that's on the kind of personal responsibility of these companies, because I don't think it's like going to be a governmental thing that's going to move it at this stage. I just don't anymore. So that's a thing. I think there's an interesting like youth resurgence coming in the picture. Like I think definitely like, I mean, youth education, the education system in general being a big deal. But I think like I guess an example would be like how in Florida they're trying to like, make it legal for like 14-year-olds to work overnight shifts or something like that. Like that's probably like the downside of it. But there's also I think a very serious like reinvestment in youth and youth kind of like becoming more vocal and active, like at a much younger age. So I think that's coming in, like youth empowerment programs and all that. And then a big one that I don't have time to explain how I know so much about this, but like I do, it's just like been this really big change in my life recently, whatever. But the housing industry, cancer, it ruled the housing industry. It's not like, oh, everything's going to be amazing, but tying it all together, the trend right now is walkable communities, like connected communities. Yes. And like the ability for people to literally congregate. Like there's so many communities right now being built that also like democratize like living structures. Like 80% of our homes that have been built are for the nuclear family, when that's only 20% of home buyers. So now they're creating like missing middle housing is a big thing right now, where it's like there's so many different types of homes that people are willing to pay for in in different living arrangements and family compositions, and in communities that are just structured differently. Like there's such demand for new housing in this way, and it's actually coming. Like it's truly being built, and it's like the physical manifestation, I think, of this like energy. So I think we're going to have this ability to be more connected when these physical places also allow for it. Like we've come from this, without going into the whole thing, I could literally do a whole diatribe on it, but like, you know, we didn't always be a society where it's like the narrative is, oh, you graduate and then you move away from home, and that contributes to social isolation. And then where you move away from home, it's in a city that is car dependent, and you're just blocked away from everybody, you know. But now intergenerational living is becoming so much more mainstream again. Like we're coming back to, that's like the good reverence for the past energy, like where we're like resuscitating these things that like help bring people together and keep them connected. And I think it's going to facilitate the energetic connection and unity we need if the physical environments are structured for it. And it's literally happening. So this is a very positive movement.
Yes, I love it. All right. Did we do it, Ryan?
I think so. I could always go on, but you know, I gotta.
Well, you're amazing.
You gotta go.
We will be at the end of the year. Ryan will be back. Tell everybody ryansastrology.com, correct?
That's it. Everything's on there.
All right. And anything else you got going on, or that's good enough?
That is good enough for right now. I can't even get into more.
Thank you so much, my friend. Folks, go to my website, karenrontowski.com. Join the Patreon /Rontowski. We have free live reading classes. We have classes. I have everything you need. And may you all have your cancer story end like mine. All right, everybody. Thanks. See you next week or 2 weeks.
Paranormal Karen, she's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen.